What's up everybody and welcome back to the channel. We finally arrived at the end of Act 2 in Call of Duty Modern Warfare 3 Zombies. This is the final mission, the story mission. This one's called Shepherd. Let's go. This mission is a two-parter. In the first place, expecting you to travel to the neutralizer test site, and in the second place to successfully test said neutralizer. Now every act has a story mission at the end, and having played all three at the time of recording this, I can comfortably say that this is the most difficult one of the three. Nonetheless, as the video title suggests, you can do this easy and you can do it solo. It just requires a little bit of prep, and it just requires you to get the right items and gear together before you go in, and that is exactly what I'm going to help you with. As per usual for these story missions, you deploy to them from the main map. So when you deploy onto the map, after 2 minutes have passed, you will see a specific extraction come available for this. This one's called Shepherd. Of course, you have extraction, which is for the first act, so be sure to pick the right one when you take it. Nonetheless, you have 45 minutes. Technically speaking, you have an hour, but you have 45 minutes to prep yourself before you actually take this extraction and go towards this story mission area. Now, in terms of the prep itself, basically it comes down to what I would say certain things that you should have in your inventory and how you should kind of like configure that in a way to make it as easy as possible for yourself to go through the different phases of the story mission. Now, it's difficult for me to give you a particular checklist of what's most important and what's least important. So I will rather say this, that if you have most of the things which I'm going to mention on this checklist, then that is going to make the mission significantly easier. If you go there with one plate, for example, and a unpackaged gun, then you are giving yourself potentially a huge handicap. And so obviously a little bit of prep here helps a lot. So in no particular order, absolutely having a 2 to 3 plate vest is, I would consider, mandatory. You are going to be taking a huge amount of damage, and you're also going to be going up against mercenaries a lot, and we know how tough those guys can be. So absolutely look to securing yourself a 2 or a 3 plate at least. Now, you can very easily get a 3 plate by just doing a mercenary stronghold, so there's really no excuse not to. While you are getting that armor, it's also a good idea to go in with a healthy stack of plates. So don't just go in with the 5 that you carry on your body, but have a couple of plates additional in your backpack. So something like a medium or a large backpack where you can carry more stuff is obviously going to help you as well. The good news is you are going to be fighting a lot of mercenaries, and you can restock plates on mercenaries quite easily as long as you're not chewing through too many of them to kill those mercenaries. So with some intelligent play, you can actually maintain a healthy level of plates in this mission, so that's not too much of a worry. Then I think a sentry turret or 2 can really help you here from a kill streak perspective. You can of course buy these from the tier 2 threat area. You can buy them. There's going to be a section of this mission that is on rails, and you can actually put the sentry turret on this vehicle, this ACV, and that will actually help you a lot with suppressing fire and actually taking out some of the enemies. And so it's really a good idea to bring this along if you can. Of course, I believe these are 2k a pop. They could be 5,000 if I'm not mistaken. Whichever one that is, at least bring one of these along if you can, or any other kill streak for that matter. Maybe an airstrike or something like that is also not a bad idea, but a kill streak can absolutely help you. Then circuit boards for the deadbolt turrets are really good in this mission. There are a couple of areas where you can put these down, and they will give you a lot of cover fire against all of the enemies that are going to be pushing you. And just in general, there's going to be a portion of this mission which is fucking mayhem, with just a shitload of mercenaries running around, helicopters coming in and dropping more of them off, shitloads of zombies popping out, boss zombies fucking everywhere. So any additional help that you can give yourself absolutely works here. And deadbolt turrets are insane. They chew through these zombies, which are all of the tier 2 variety, like it's fucking nobody's business. So you can absolutely go a long way by bringing 1 or 2 or 3 circuit boards in with you. Then in terms of like the gun that you should be rocking, you can go for pretty much anything, I would imagine, just as long as it has a large magazine. There are going to be sections where you're going to have to mow down huge amounts of enemies or a tough enemy, and having a larger mag means that you have more sustained fire until you have to reload. Bear in mind that once you pack-a-punch guns, you essentially double the mag size, and in some cases even triple the mag size. So if you go in with a gun that has 50 or something like that, then you can change that to 100 by pack-a-punching it once. If you go in with something that has 200, then by pack-a-punching it, you go to 400, which is fucking ridiculous. and is really good. So absolutely think about that. Now, of course, a natural choice here for big mags is LMGs. You can't go wrong with that, but obviously keep things like reloading time in mind, because that, you know, you can't lose too much time reloading the gun, because that also then doesn't help you, because you'll just be swarmed by a shitload of zombies. You should consider packer punching your weapon at least once. 2 times is better, 3 times is I would consider overkill, but packing your weapon once is really good. Twice is awesome, and then if you can maybe get it to like an uncommon rarity or something like that, that is exactly the kind of gun that you need for this. You're going to be facing mercenaries and you're going to be facing tier 2 zombies, so at least this isn't tier 3 shit, so they're not all that tough. But packer punching once and basically coming in with a common weapon will still mean that you spend a lot of time shooting the more tougher zombies and the armored zombies, and you really want to be able to go through large groups of enemies with one clip. So consider spending a little bit of additional time and going up to a packer punch 2 level. Then monkey bombs, decoy grenades in your tactical is really good. Monkey bombs, of course, you need to go out and find, so it's not necessary that you're going to have them. They are fantastically good if you do, though. Otherwise, a decoy grenade is just as good, and in some cases actually better, because it has a much faster activation time. Decoy grenades work fantastic with zombies, and while with mercenaries they're kind of like a waste, with the zombies you can oftentimes, if you are being swarmed, you can use a decoy grenade to get the attention off you, and then possibly follow up with a grenade on those enemies, or like in the case of what I'm about to suggest, bringing energy mine in with you is also a good idea. So as your field upgrade, absolutely consider bringing an energy mine, because you can use that to create nice little traps, or let's say choke points, where the zombies have to come through to get to you on the ACV. And no matter what the difficulty of the zombies and stuff, the energy mine just does a shitload of damage. And then last but not least, we're almost done, I promise. Think about also some of the upgrade cans that you can have on your Juggernog is really good, because it gives you more HP. You're going to be taking a lot of damage. Stam up is fantastic, because you are going to be running, you are going to be wanting to be mobile, and being faster is better to be able to outrun the zombies. And then last but not least, since we are bringing in a ridiculously big magazine on like an LMG or something like that, speed up the reload cola is really good, because that can basically change a really slow reload on an LMG, making the LMG useless, to a fantastic gun with a huge magazine, and that is able to actually reload in a timely fashion. Now again, huge list of stuff that I just gave you here. You don't need all of this. The first time I did this, I didn't have more than half of these things that is in this list, but my main point is, as close as you can get to having all of these things in the list, that just increases your chance of success. And by God, if you have all of them, then there's probably no way that you should rightfully fail. So then, with all this prep shit done, we are finally ready to get the mission started. So look on the map, look for the extraction with the star next to it that has the name Shepherd. Go on over there, and that is going to take you to the mission site for the story mission, which is at the power plant. So this mission, as you come in, basically we can divide it into, let's call it 3 different sections. The first section requires you to scale a building, and on the top of the building you're going to have 2 SAM sites which you need to blow up. This is extremely straightforward, but nonetheless kind of super lethal, because the top of this fucking building is swarming with mercenaries. You have some sergeants up there, you have a couple of snipers, you have just a lot of them, and they can be fairly aggressive when you originally come up onto the roof until you start clearing out some corners. So play this shit super tight. You have, a lot of time on the clock, so you don't have to rush this. You can go a little bit slower. Remember, slow is smooth and smooth is fast. Just move in between, use the corners, basically create choke points, shoot the enemies. These mercenaries die quite easily if you get headshots on them, and since you have an LMG or whatever with a giant mag, you can also just spray them fucking down and kill them out. Once you kill all the mercenaries, put your 2 explosives on the 2 SAMs, and that is the first part of this mission done. Our second part is the escort part of the mission, and you'll see that there's an ACV down there that you're supposed to go down to and basically start and then drive from one side to the other side. But before you do this, drop down maybe near the buy box like I'm doing in the footage here, and clear out the initial wave of zombies that comes. There's going to be a big glob of zombies that'll just fucking show up, so clear out most of this shit and give yourself a little bit of breathing room. And also take note of where the deadbolt turrets are. Now if you have some of those circuit boards, now would be a good time to drop a circuit board into a deadbolt turret before you activate the ACV. Now once you activate the ACV, The most important thing here, and I'll show you some examples of when shit goes wrong, which you'll see in the background playing right now, is if you jump off of the ACV and create distance between yourself and the ACV will stop. And this is the time when it will start taking a huge amount of damage. Now, you will fail the mission if this ACV explodes. Obviously, I think that's self-explanatory. So even though it doesn't seem like the right thing to do, you should try to not get off the ACV at all. And this is where something like a sentry gun comes in handy, because you can put that on the ACV with you and it will take some pot shots at enemies as well. And you can use your energy mine to essentially blow up a large amount of enemies that are coming from behind, or a large amount of enemies that are coming from the front. Now, the fucking bad news is it's going to be a mixture of zombies and mercenaries. So you should be prioritizing taking out the enemies that can shoot you, aka mercenaries. As you see helicopters come in, you should try and shoot those out of the sky if you can. Failing that, you should be placing shots at the bottom of them to kill any of the shit that repels on the side of the helicopters. Nonetheless, again, the aim of the game here is stay on the ACV. It drives at a healthy pace, and anything that runs in front of it is going to get run over and not actually deal all that much damage to it. So it is going to do a lot of the heavy lifting for you as well in clearing a path. Last but not least, create gaps for yourself with like decoy grenades and things like that. And when it gets a little bit too spicy, just throw a decoy grenade off to the left or the right and watch like a whole bunch of zombies head off that way. Now, as you come to the northeast corner of this trip on the ACV, this is the most difficult part, and this is where a lot of people actually get fucked. And that's because this camp ahead of you here has a huge amount of mercenaries, which as you turn the corner will start climbing onto the roofs of those buildings there and taking pot shots at you. Now, by this time, your plates have most likely taken a strain, and if you haven't been just dipping off the ACV quickly to pick up more plates, you are going to be running slightly low. Now, if you have a kill streak like an airstrike or a fucking mortar strike or something here, that's going to carry a lot for you. But if you don't have that, have no fear. This is the time when you wait for the ACV to get kind of close to these fences and then jump off and come around the back and hit the mercenaries from the rear. The good news here is the AI fights each other. The zombies will be just as interested in killing these fucking mercenaries as they are in killing you. And if you have to leave the ACV alone here for just a little while you thin these fucks out, it's absolutely worth it. So once again, once all of this is done, you reunite with your ACV and basically the end is in sight now. So as you clear the camp, you're going to start turning up towards your left and you're heading towards this sort of cliff area here. And that's where the ACV is basically going to stop, and we're going to start the third part of this mission. As the ACV comes to a stop, you have to activate the neutralizer. That is a prompt that you have to do, so don't just jump off the ACV and go ham on the fucking AI. Basically make sure that you activate this, then you'll see a percentage will essentially start running. Now, to run from 0 to 100, this takes exactly a minute. So for a minute, you are going to have to hold out and keep enemies off of the ACV, since they're still going to be very, very much focused on fucking it up and blowing it up. As long as you keep it above 1% HP, well, maybe a little bit more because there's one other thing that's still coming, but just keep it healthy, but also keep yourself healthy. Now, of course, nothing is fucking easy, and at some point, a couple of seconds into this, you're gonna see the big boss basically charge you down. Now, this thing is fucking super tough, and unless you're rocking something like a Pack-a-Punch 3 weapon with maybe like, higher than rarity, it is gonna be super tough, and it's not gonna be easy for you to deal any damage to it. It's gonna be far better for you to just evade its attacks, because you essentially just have to tread water for a minute, killing all the lesser zombies and things like that off of the ACV while this neutralizer charges. Two cool things here. First of all, decoy grenades, once again, remember they drop off of zombie bodies, so scrounge around for additional decoy grenades if you've used all of yours by now. But decoy grenades are also still working here. They won't work against the big boss fucker, but they will work against all the other smaller dudes, and you can throw this and get them off of the ACV with that. You can also use the energy mine and shoot that onto the ACV, so for any zombies that come close to try and hit it, will trigger it and basically blow it up. Lastly, there are no mercenaries and stuff pushing you here, so you can kind of like play very loose and very aggressive with the zombies without worrying about, getting shot and everything like that. The neutralizer will every once in a while also just take like a lightning pot shot at something, so it might actually end up incinerating some zombies that are fucking with you as well. But as a minute has passed, you will get the prompt that you have to activate the neutralizer, whatever the fuck, something with an N. Now, the most important thing is this is again a prompt that you have to go and hit. So make your way over to the ACV and hit this, and as soon as you do this, a big fucking lightning thing is going to go into the sky and the cutscene will start and you will be done with this mission. And that's also it for the video. Thank you so much for watching, especially if you made it this far. This was a little bit longer than usual, but I tried to be as detailed as possible and show you as many things as possible, because it can be super frustrating to play this mission all the way from the beginning until the end and then die right at the end and having to redo the entire fucking thing from scratch. So hopefully I covered all of the bases. Please let me know in the comments if you have any additional questions. This was a tough one, but it is super satisfying to get this done. And remember that this gets you your 3rd insured slot, which now means that you have access to all 3 of your guns to take into missions for you. What's also left for us is Act 3. There are a few missions in there and none of them are as hard as this shit. So we've basically cleared the peak, and from here on it's downhill all the way, baby. But other than that, it's just super important to me that you have a fantastic morning, afternoon, evening, wherever you are in the world. Until next video, fucking cheers.
You're only the best.